One of the aims of the film, one of the effects of the film is that all of us think about what the end of the world would be like for us, that each of us thinks about it in his or her own way. And the second is, on the heels of our screening last week of Melancholia, is this something now that you think is preoccupying filmmakers, this idea of the end of the world, and has this become the new subject that a lot of people are going to try and tackle?
I'm not, these films are, where they come from, God only knows, but it's how the audience is going to respond. That's beyond, I can only present it, I can only follow my imagination and whatever it is that makes me a filmmaker. And when I say me, I mean the guys and the women that made this film possible, and everybody's putting up their 2 cents in it big time. So, it's happened so many times before. We make a gangster film, and the Coen brothers and someone else have their gangster film at the exact moment. We do the vampire movie, and there's another black and white vampire movie. Like, what, are you kidding? But it just goes to show that these ideas are out there. They're as much coming from there as from in here. You know what I mean? You have your antenna up, and you're, it's proof positive that, the zeitgeist is there, And as an artist or a filmmaker, you got to lock, you're as much, dependent on creativity from outside of yourself as much as from inside.
Question for Shannon, if she could talk about how the character was developed, her character was developed.
Well, a lot of it was working, first of all, I'm not a painter, so I worked a lot on being around painters and studying painting and studying Frida Kahlo and just like different artists and working with my acting teacher. But a lot of it, and then I'm a yogi, and so a lot of that, and I loved Buddhism, and so I think that's something that I enjoyed a lot, just studying more about Buddhism, more about death, reading the Tibetan Book of Dying, and just any sort of book I could get my hands on about what actually physically happens to you based on these scriptures, based on the Buddhist and the yogi scriptures. So a lot of it, and then Able gives you a lot of free reign to work, to develop your character yourself. And then, so creating that, and then within the parameters of working with Willem, and what seems practical and what doesn't. And a lot of that just got fleshed out during the rehearsals, but it was a lot of fun.
Let me just say one thing, because I remember when we did this for King of New York, and it was Wesley, I think it might have been his first press, it was this exact moment. There weren't that many people in the audience. It was during the afternoon, and it was walking Wesley, me, and Nikki St. John, and they asked that question, right? And Chris looks at me and says, you don't answer that question. Like, what are you kidding? Tell them how do you take the rabbit out of the hat? Forget about it, And I remember that the first person raised their, we were so proud of that movie. And the first question was, besides that question was, well, this film looks like a B perfume, a cross between a C movie and a bad perfume commercial. Right? You're just seeing the look on Nikki's and Wesley's face, right? And now I'm thinking, okay, that one we have to answer, right? But, the organic, Shannon and I lived together. The film came as much from, the script, but it was a script, it wasn't, we didn't put the camera on us. This film was written, and Cisco is a character, somewhere between, where Ray Ruby ends and Willem and I are, and, hopefully will be, or maybe don't want to be, or whatever. And, it's a real team effort. And then when you add that to design with Frankie and Tony Redman's editor as the editor, and Kenny, I got the team back together for this film, which was really, one thing about the not drinking aspect is like you could work with guys that you haven't worked a long time. And, so the movie's really special for me for that.